الرحمن الرحيم صلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Today is 31st of January, 14th of Jumad al-Ula, 1439 of Al-Hijrah. The chapter Babu Zikr al-Ilm wal-Futya fil Masjid. The chapter about the remembrance of knowledge and giving fatwa in the mosque. حدثنا قتيبة, and he is قتيبة بن سعيد. قال حدثنا الليث بن سعد قال حدثنا نافع مولى عبد الله بن عمر بن الخطاب. And we are going to speak about Nafi later. عن عبد الله بن عمر أن رجلا قام في المسجد, that a man stood in the mosque of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فقال يا رسول الله من أين تأمرنا أن نهل? O Messenger of Allah, from where you ask us or you want us to start saying talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, to enter into the state of ihram. فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يحل أهل المدينة من ذو الحليفة ويحل أهل الشام من الجحفة ويحل أهل نجد من قرن. So Prophet ﷺ has given these mawaqit, miqat, the place from where the people has to start their ihram. If they are coming from Al-Madinah, then from Dhul Hulayfa. If they are coming from Syria, then from Al-Juhfa. And if they are coming from Najd, from Qarnul Manazil. وقال ابن عمر, Ibn Umar said, وَيَزْعُمُونَ أَنَّ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ قَالْ وَيُهِلُّ أَهْلُ الْيَمَنِ مِنْ يَلَمْلَمْ. Ibn Umar said, and they, some other reporters claim that Prophet ﷺ has said, the people of Yemen, they are going to start their ihram from Yalamlam. وكان ابن عمر يقول لم أفقه هذه من رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. But I myself, I did not learn it from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the last one, about Yemen itself. This I did not hear. So before the explanation of the hadith, let us have few remarks about Nafi bin Sarjis Abu Abdullah al-Madani, who is the free slave of Abdullah ibn Umar. He was also among the captives of the battle. And as we know that the golden isnad is Malik and Nafi and Ibn Umar. That is called as Silsila min Silsilat al-Zahab. But you add another name before Malik, Shafi'i. So Shafi'i and Malik and Nafi and Ibn Umar. That is the golden isnad, where there are Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik and Nafi, a great man of knowledge, and then a Sahabi Abdullah ibn Umar. So Nafi is the Tabi'i and Ikrimah in Al-Madinah, but the people of Medina, they got more, you can say, respect for Nafi because of his knowledge. Now this another hadith, which is an interesting hadith, which has been reported. Nafi said that I was walking with Abdullah ibn Umar outside the streets of outside Medina. كنت أسير مع ابن عمر فسمع زفارة راع. So he heard زفارة راع. You can say this musical sound coming from a flute of the shepherd. So what would be the proper name for this type of singing? You can say singing. So this sound was coming from that flute. Abdullah ibn Umar placed his fingers or inserted his two fingers in his two ears. And then he deviated from that way. He started following another way to become away from that sound. And then he used to say to Nafi, do you still hear? Atasma? Do you still hear? Atasma? Until I said to him, no, I don't listen now. I don't hear now. So he took out his fingers from his ears. And then he came back to the paths which we were following before that event. And then he said, هَكَذَا رَأَيْتُ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. And then he said, this is how I found the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam doing. Now here there is one question, that why Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar did not ask Nafi to insert his fingers in his ears as well. Why? He did not do that. The answer is, Nafi was still a lad at that time, kind of sabiyan. So if they say if he was a lad, then how could you accept his hadith? Another question. So the answer is that as-sabiyyul mumayyiz, that if the lad is mumayyiz, that he can discern the right hand from the left hand, and he can clean himself, that is called al-mumayyiz. And he can distinguish between one thing from the other thing, then his hadith can be taken, and he can narrate it, and if he narrates it after bulugha, after attaining the age of majority, then it is acceptable. And this point we have explained many times before. Now here in this hadith, a man asked this question. Who was that man? No, nobody could find out his name. So his name is not known. Now this place which is called Al-Muhall, the place of Ihlal. Ihlal actually means raf'u sawt, to raise your voice with talbiyah, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, which is a token that you have entered into ihram either for umrah or for hajj. So these are the places which the Prophet ﷺ have appointed for ihram. The farthest one is this one, Zul Hulayfa, because this is the farthest one in comparison to all the other mawaqit. It is very near to Al-Madinah. They say 6 miles, 6 miles during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the mile of the Nabi, 6 miles away from Al-Madinah, which is known nowadays as Abiyari Ali, the wells of Sayyidina Ali. And now, alhamdulillah, there is a big mosque, and mashallah, so many markets around it. So it is seems to be a city which is developing there. So that is Zul Hulayfa for the people of Al-Madinah. And it is also interesting that someone asked Sayyidina Imam Malik this question, what about entering into ihram from the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ? Because Zul Hulayfa is still here. So what about the mosque of the Prophet? So Sayyidina Imam Malik said, he said very strong words about that. That the Prophet ﷺ could have done it, but he did not do it from his mosque. He went to that place, Zul Hulayfa, and then he started. So the main thing is following of the Prophet ﷺ. If you want to follow the Prophet, then do what he has done. وَيُحِلُّ أَهْلُ الشَّامِ مِنَ الْجُحْفَةِ. Al-Juhfa, that is again a place. Now, if you are coming by the sea, then this place, you will come across this place long after passing by Al-Madinah, because now you are not taking the route of Madinah. Once you take the route of Madinah, then your miqat is Zul Hulayfa. But if you are coming by the coast, then you are coming from Syria, then this is the place which is called Juhfa. It is said that some people who are known as Al-Amaliq, the plural of Imlaq, people of very long stature, they used to live in Yasrib, which is later known to be Al-Madinah. Then there was a battle between them and Bani Abil and Bani Abil, which are the remnant of Ad people. So there was a battle between them, and they were strong people, so they expelled them from Yasrib. So they came to this place which is known to be Mahya'a, known as Mahya'a. mahya. And once a flood struck that place, and because of that flood, all these people, they were destroyed. Their dwelling and they themselves all were destroyed. فَجَاءَ سَيْلٌ فَاجْتَحَفَهُمْ أي استحسلهم. So this word Juhfa is coming from this word, فَاجْتَحَفَهُمْ, that it has uprooted them completely. So this is why it is called Al-Juhfa. Al-Juhfa. Now, so it is at a distance of 5 or 6 marhala from Makkah. And when we say about marhala, we come to know that another place which is 2 marhala from Makkah is estimated as 30 miles away from Makkah. So 1 marhala is about 15 miles. The third place which is given here, the people of Najd, they have to initiate their ihram from Qarnul Manazil. Qarnul Manazil, that is the place. First of all, the people of Najd, the word Najd, it has been used for 10 places. 10 places. And Najd, which means an elevated place. An elevated place, but the highest elevated place of Najd is in Tihama, which are the mountains between Al-Hijaz and Najd. These mountains are called Tihama and Yemen. The highest one in Tihama, the mountains of Tihama and Yemen. And the lowest one among the mountains of Syria and Iraq. Syria and Iraq. So this is why those people who try to take the meaning which they wanted to take, when the Prophet ﷺ said that all the fitna are going to rise from Najd, and he pointed towards the east. So they say, this Najd, that is the Najd, which is nowadays it is the part of Arabia, Saudi Arabia now. And the capital is Riyadh. So they say that this is the Najd. But in the history, we did not see those fitna as they has happened in Najd of Iraq. All those fitna which came in those days and after the days of the Prophet, mostly they have come in the Najd of Iraq. So when we say Najd, it is not just one Najd, there are 10. And now this word Qarn, there are 2 Qarn, Qarnul Manazil and Qarnul Tha'alib. Tha'alib is fox. Qarnul Tha'alib. Qarnul Tha'alib, it is very near to Mina, and it is a place, you can say, you have to ascend to that place. And Qarnul Manazil, which is away from Mina, a place where you descend. This is why it is called Manzil, Nuzul. Qarnul Manazil. So these are the 3 which are mentioned in this hadith, but Ibn Umar was so accurate because he did not hear from the Prophet himself the place of ihram for the people of Yemen. This is why he said some people, they believe that people of Yemen should start their ihram from Yalamlam. So this Yalamlam is the one which is on 2 marhala, at the distance of 2 marhala, 30 miles in Tihama, in the mountains of Tihama from Makkah. And it is also known as Alamlam with Hamza, Alamlam. And also Yaramram, Yaramram, Alamlam, Yaramram, and then Yalamlam. And I have mentioned to you that in my first Umrah which we have done, and that was during our voyage from Karachi to Jeddah, that was in 1962, with this delegation of 18 students who were coming from Pakistan to learn into Medina. So we came by a ship, one of the biggest ship of Pakistan at that time, Safinat al-Hujjaj, carrying about 5,000 pilgrims. But that time it was July and Hajj has already been done. So this ship which we have boarded was going back from Karachi to Jeddah to take more pilgrims, or the second trip of the pilgrims. I don't know whether it was the second trip or the third trip, I don't know. But anyhow, it was going there and it was totally empty except for the crew. Anyhow, the main thing is that we have to do our ihram when we were passing by this place. So there was an announcement which was made by the captain that we are passing by Yalamlam. So you should take your ihram. So they, of course, they have to announce for the pilgrims each and every time, so they know exactly when they are passing by Yalamlam. And once again, his word, Ibn Umar, he used to say, وَيَزْعُمُونَ, and they claim. So this word يَزْعُمُونَ, za'am could be used for a certain saying, al-qawl al-muhaqqaq, a certain saying, because it does not mean that he is doubting it. No, he says that I did not hear it from the Prophet, but some other people have heard it. Now let us come to the last hadith in Kitab al-Ilm. باب من أجاب السائل بأكثر مما سأله. Chapter, the person who replies to a questioner with a reply more than what he asked. Now, حدثنا آدم بن أبي إياس, we have mentioned this name again and again. حدثنا ابن أبي ذئب النافع عن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وابن أبي ذئب. This is the second isnad. حدثنا ابن أبي ذئب النافع, and this is ابن أبي ذئب عن الزهري عن سالم عن ابن عمر عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أن رجلا سأله ما يلبس المحرم فقال لا يلبس القميص ولا العمامة ولا السراويل ولا البرنس ولا ثوبا مسه الورس أو الزعفران فإن لم يجد النعلين فليلبس الخفين وليقطعهما حتى يكون تحت الكعبين. Now let us take the translation to be very correct from the translated version here. A man asked the Prophet ﷺ what kinds of clothes should a muhrim, the person who assumed the ihram intending to perform Umrah al-Hajj, wear. What should he wear? He replied, he should not wear a shirt, a turban, trousers, a headlock, or a garment scented with saffron, or worse, kinds of perfumes. And if he has no slippers, then he can use khuffain, which means 2 leather socks. But the socks should be cut short so as to make the ankles bare. So that is the hadith itself. And among the asanid here, the isnad of Imam al-Zuhri, going back to Salim and from Ibn Umar, that is also one of the most authentic asanid of al-Zuhri. From where you have to start your ihram. Now, what is ihram? What is ihram itself? So if the question is asked, what is ihram? Ahram al-rajulu bil-umrah. A man has done ihram for umrah. The question comes only, why this question comes, that according to Imam Shafi'i, an niyyah, the intention is a condition. And if the intention is a condition, then he can't be a part of the action itself, because the condition precedes the action. It comes before the action. But if you look at all the books of fiqh about the part of about the vital arkan of umrah, you will find an-niyyah, the intention, and after that you will come to tawaf, and then you come to sa'i, this sa'i between Safa and Marwa, and then you can come out of ihram by cutting your hairs. So niyyah is the part of ihram itself. So this is why it becomes difficult for them to how to define al-ihram. So we should say that ihram is a collective action in which you intend to do a certain act, which is either umrah or hajj, and then you come out of your normal garments and take away two simple cloths, and then you start saying talbiyah. So if you take it as in this collective way, you may avoid this type of question. Second thing, that this question was asked in the mosque itself. Because there is another hadith narrated by Ibn Abbas which says that it has happened in Arafat. Now those things which are mentioned here, the question was ma yalbasul muhrim, what a muhrim should wear, and the answer is the muhrim should wear such thing. No, this is not the answer. The muhrim should not wear. Should not wear. Why? Because the person who has asked this question, he is not a faqih. He just asked this question. But the Prophet ﷺ, he knows that those things which could be worn, there are many. So instead of saying, oh, he can do this, he can have this, he can have this, why not just tell him what is not allowed? And then you are free to wear what you like. So he has mentioned here three things, and we can say that by mentioning the shirt and the trouser, he indicates to anything which is sewn, makhit, which is sewn. The sewn clothes are not allowed. And by mentioning al-imamah and al-baranis, al-amaim wal-baranis, anything which is covering the head. Because al-amama, which is turban, and burnus, as we know, burnus is this type of overcoat type of garment which got a covering of the head attached to it. That is called al-burnus. Like the Moroccan dress, because covering of the head is the part of jilbab which a man is wearing. So, and by mentioning al-khifaf, what is covering your feet. So these three things are mentioned. Now the women got only one thing in common here. That is, she is not allowed to wear the clothes which is touched by saffron or worse. Otherwise she is not asked to keep all these prohibitions, because she is allowed to wear her own clothes. So except for keeping away from worse and zafran. And there is two things which are mentioned about the woman. لا تنتقب المرأة المحرمة ولا تلبس القفازين. She must not have niqab upon her face, and she must not have gloves in her hands. This again shows that she should not have sewn clothes or sewn piece of cloth upon her face, which is niqab. And anything which is also covering her hands, which is sewn, that is gloves. In other words, we can say the restriction for man is to avoid the sewn clothes totally throughout his body. But for women, the sewn clothes are only restricted to two places, the face and the hands. That is لا تنتقل المرأة المحرمة ولا تلبس القفازين. So this also solves the question in many minds. For example, some people, they say, the saying of the Prophet ﷺ, al-ihram al-mar'ati fi wajhiha. Ihram of a woman is in her face. And they say, this what it means, that you must not have niqab. You must expose your face. You must expose your face. This is what they understand. But this is not the right understanding. The right understanding, it does not say that you must not expose. You must expose your face. No, it says you don't have niqab. So if it means that a sewn piece of cloth should not be on your face. If it is not sewn, it is just like a scarf. Just like a scarf which is covering your head. And then in the presence of men, some woman wants to cover her face, she can cover because it is not a... It is sewn thing means sewn to the size of the organ of the body. This is what it means. Because niqab is something according to the size of the face of the woman. Gloves according to the size of the hands. This is what it means. Because khimar itself is a sewn thing as well. But it is not according to the size. This is the difference between the two. So the Prophet ﷺ indicated to us by this answer that things which are allowed to be worn, al-asl fihi al-ibaha. Al-asl fihi al-ibaha, the main principle is that all allowed. They are mubah, they are all allowed, except for this and that. In the same way, وَأَحَلَّ لَكُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتِ وَحَرَّمَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْخَبَائِثِ. All the good things are halal for you, all the khaba'is things are haram upon you. And then Quran has given just 4 things. Yani those ad-dam wal-mayta وَمَا أُهِلَّ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ بِهِ نعم وَلَحْمُ الْخِنْزِيرِ. 4 things, just to show that these things are exempted. They are exempted. So it becomes easier for you to understand that tayyibat are so many, there is no need to classify them all. It becomes into hundreds. Just classify or just mention or notify those which are prohibited. And it also indicates to this man that you ought to ask what you should not wear. This is just indirect instruction to him. This is just like the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Baqarah, يَسَأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ يَسَأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ. They ask you what to spend. See the question? What to spend? What to spend? What things which you spend? The answer is قُلْ مَا أَنْفَقْتُم مِّنْ خَيْرٍ فَلِلْوَالِدَيْنِ وَالْأَقْرَبِينَ. Say whatever you spend out of good things, فَلِلْوَالِدَيْنِ, they are for the parents and your kids and kin. So the question was about what to spend, and the answer is for whom to be spent. This is the same way, this here is the reply. Now in the end it says that وَلَا صَوْبًا مَصَّهُ الْوَرْسُ أَبِ الزَّعْفَرَانِ. Anything you can, before we come to that point, he said what he should wear, and of course the answer is that you should not wear this and that. And then in the end there is an addition that if you don't find such shoes which are known as al-na'layn, then you can have khuffayn, and you can cut al-khuffayn hatta yakuna tahta al-ka'bayn, until they come under the ankles. So we can have the difference between na'al and khuf. Na'al, normal shoes, they expose the ankle, so they are allowed. Alright, if a person got no shoes and he got only this leather hoof, and leather hoof is covering the ankles because it covers half of your leg. So you have to cut that hoof to such an extent that your ankles are exposed. And as far as ankle is concerned, Al-Ka'bayn is concerned, there is a difference of opinion between Hanafiya and the others. Al-Ka'bayn is the ankle, which is that joint which is between your foot and the leg. That joint is called Al-Ka'b. And this is what is understood from Al-Quran. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين, and you have to wash your feet till your ankles, and not the whole leg, half of the leg, till the ankle itself. Al-Ka'b. According to Hanafiya, Al-Ka'b, that is the bone which is you can say very, very near to your thumb in the foot, your toe in your foot. That bone is Al-Ka'b. So this is why they don't allow the normal shoe, because the normal shoe is going to cover it. They say you must have a slipper where your fingers are to be exposed. This type of slipper. They say this type of slipper only, not the shoe. So this becomes an issue. I don't know how they are going to explain the ayah of Al-Quran. وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ. Does it mean that you have to wash only till the toe? You don't exceed. So now let us have a few more things about this hadith verse. It is also a yellowish type of plant with a good fragrance, and also used for dyeing. It is not one of the perfumes, because it has a good fragrance, a good smell. This is why the Prophet ﷺ, by mentioning a verse, he has told us that not to use anything which got some smell, good smell coming out of it, just like a perfume. As far as saffron, saffron, this is a non-Arabic word which has been Arabicized and it became a saffron. And when the Prophet ﷺ said, وَلَا ثَوْبًا مَسَّهُ الْوَرْسُ بِالزَّعْفَرَانِ, not any piece of cloth touched by al-wars or saffron, touched by. So touched by, it means that, it does not mean that the whole cloth is dyed with saffron or part of it, because touching means even a part of it. Of course, if it is washed, after it has been washed, then of course there is no more fragrance left into it. Then it becomes jais. Now what about the food which got saffron during ihram, and you are in the state of ihram? So Shafi'iyya said no, it is not allowed, because saffron is not allowed. So not even in the food. Hanafiya will opposite to that, and that seems to be very rational, that it is not a thing to be worn, it is a thing to be eaten. So this is why it is allowed. And Malikiya, they have these two opinions, and there is a difference which was shown among their jurists. The other thing is that this hadith says that if you don't have such type of shoes where your ankles are exposed, you can have your leather khuf, but we have to cut it from under the ankles. But there is this another report of Abdullah ibn Umar. The report of Abdullah ibn Umar says that you can, if you don't have a na'alayn, you can have a khuffayn. There is no mention of cutting off. Cutting off from above the ankles. There is nothing. From under the ankles. So there are two hadiths now. Hadith of Ibn Abbas, hadith of Ibn Umar, the hadith of Ibn Umar which says that we have to cut it. And hadith of Ibn Abbas which says no, you don't have to cut it. How to reconcile between two of them? Some people, they have taken these two hadiths according to which one was before the other one. Now the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar is about a person who asked this question in the mosque of the Prophet ﷺ, and it was before ihram. Before ihram, because this person wanted to do ihram, so he asked this question. And the hadith of Ibn Abbas is when the Prophet ﷺ was in Arafat, in the plain of Arafat. So hadith of Ibn Abbas is mutaakhir, came later. So this is why they say that hadith of Ibn Abbas is going to abrogate the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar. That is one way of reconciling. The other would say that the hadith of Ibn Umar is more authentic than the hadith of Ibn Abbas. So this is why they still go to the instruction which is given in the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar to cut al-khuffayn. And this is taken by Hanabila, mazhab of Hanabila. As far as Hanafiya, they are concerned, among the Hanafiya who said that it is allowed for you to wear al-khuf completely. Yes, you can take it. In the same way, if you don't have a piece of cloth to cover as a waist wrapper, then you can have your sirwal, your trousers. But you have to pay a penalty, which is fidya. With penalty, yes, it is allowed. So this is the difference between the two. Al-Hanabila, they say no, you have to cut it, because cutting is available, you can cut it. Why? The other would say, but this is going to waste the clothes. Because among the Malikiya who said that even if it is sirwal, and if you don't have this waist wrapper, a piece of cloth to cover your waist, then, and you got one sirwal, they say you have to cut the sirwal as well. Cut the sirwal and turn it into izar. Turn it into izar, this is what they say. So this is going to destroy something which you got. That is another question. So why not take that hadith that you don't cut it, then take that hadith. Anyhow, this is these are the few things which we could say about this hadith. In Kitab al-Ilm there were about 102 ahadith, in which 80 ahadith were mawsul ahadith, yani with complete isnad. And there were about 20 muallaqat. And there are 3 mutaba'at. And we can also say that Imam Bukhari, that is the fiqh of Imam Bukhari, that the last chapter which he has given is entitled Babu man ajab as-sa'ila bi aksara mimma sa'alahu. Chapter to answer a person who is asking with an answer which is more than what he said. So we can say that Imam Bukhari, who has started with an-niyya in the first chapter, an-niyya, the intention, and then he also mentioned about an-nasiha that he should be advising to any person who is asking you consultation, who is consulting you. And by this chapter he wants to show that he himself, he has done his duty. He has done his duty by giving more knowledge, more knowledge, more knowledge. That is the last chapter which is mentioned here. وصلى الله تعالى على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. والسلام عليكم.